All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Webinar Wednesday. We're so glad you are able to join us. And we have an exciting topic today. The customers are the heart of user experience at TLC. So if you joined us last month, Ebony was able to share with us about how things get prioritized to get added to the roadmap. And this is more of a follow-up to that to say once things are prioritized, this is how we're using customer feedback to be able to influence what that looks like through development. So our panelist today is Kristin Gray. And before I turn it over to her, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So if you are here, we are live. So if you have any questions, please add those into the questions panel and we will get to those at the end of the presentation. And this is being recorded. So if you want to share this with your colleagues or anyone after the fact, it will be available on our website. So with that, Kristin, thank you so much for being here, and I will pass it to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ria. And yes, welcome everyone. And thank you for attending today to hear a talk about how customers are the heart of our user experience here at TLC. As Ria said, I'm Kristin Gray. I am the Senior Product Manager for Library.Solution. My responsibilities here at TLC currently include UI and UX for Library.Solution and Library.Solution for schools, as well as some general product management for various products in the software. All right, let's get started. Okay, so today's webinar is a continuation of last month's webinar Wednesday presentation from Ebony Pacheco, that was from idea to feature, how TLC uses real customer feedback. So last month was about how TLC uses customer feedback to help build roadmaps and priorities in order to get to feature development. And what I'm going to talk about today is how actively our customers participate in that development. So our customers truly are development partners, and we really rely on their feedback when we develop. Topics I'm going to cover are development at TLC, what methodologies we use, and how we do our releases, feedback channels and methods for our customers to give us feedback. How do we gather the feedback? How do we incorporate the feedback during development? And I will show some features, some screenshots, and explain some features from some of the things we've developed as a direct result of our feedback from our customers and partnering with our customers on the development. I'm going to show one feature in particular that TLC developed to give our customers the functionality they needed while ensuring that, we are still providing really good user experience for their borrowers and their users, and also ensuring that, we're still meeting WCAG and accessibility standards. And then I'll talk about and show where you can get more resources as a customer of TLC so that if you're not in our feedback loops and if you're not in those channels, you can learn where to find the information to get on those so that you can actively help us with development as well. So let's get started. So development at TLC, we develop using agile methodologies with iterative feature development. What this means is that we work as lean and streamlined as possible, and that we can release features and workflows in smaller steps instead of one giant large launch. We may develop some feature improvements in one release, and that will set up for sort of a new feature in the next release. Or we may release a feature that has sort of minimal functionality and then expand upon that feature and its functionality in later releases. There is one exception to that rule, of iterative development, and that's when we're developing an interface, when we're redeveloping an interface in a newer technology. So, for instance, Carl Connect Discovery 4.0 right now is being completely redone in a new technology so that we can make sure that that is WCAG compliant. And that development we can't release until the interface is a complete replacement for the older interface. And then once that is developed, then we'll continue with the iterative development on that interface. However, as you'll learn through my talk today, during that big giant development like that, we still do bring in customer feedback very regularly. So with Library.Solution and Library.Solution for schools, we even sort of release in an iterative type approach. We do what's called early adoption releases, which allows us to gather feedback from those few customers who have agreed to use the software first. During those couple weeks, we and support and product management closely monitor the customer's use of the software. And anytime they give us feedback, we, as quickly as possible, respond, start researching, you know, and get back to them, as soon as something, if something comes up. Sometimes this early adoption results in a quick second release, and sometimes it actually just solidifies the release and as it was originally wrapped, and we move the release into full or general release. With Carl.Solution customers, they're able to receive the release on their test servers. So it's very similar. They're sort of doing their own kind of like early look into the software so they can learn about it early on, and then they go put it then when they're ready, they're able to put it on their live servers. So, as Ebony discussed in last month's webinar, our customers' input and feedback is highly valued and used for our roadmap and prioritization. This is also incredibly true for our development. And here's where I may start to sound kind of cliche, but customers really are at the heart of our development and our user experience at TLC. When you're a customer at TLC, you become a development partner with us. We begin to lean on you for advice on workflows, feedback on development, and sometimes user acceptance testing, even before we release. All right, so let's talk about how do we gather this feedback during development. And actually, the answer is really in lots and lots and lots of ways. So we have lots of feedback channels. And here's where some of my content this week is kind of going to overlap with some of Ebony's content from last week, but I may talk about it a little bit differently. So with our feedback channels, we have several of them for both Carl.Solution and Library.Solution customers. A lot of them are the same. We in product and Ebony are doing, we're trying to do a great job at streamlining these channels so that we can provide each customer group with the same options. The first one I'm going to talk about is our ideas portal. We have the ideas portal for both the Carl.Solution and the Library.Solution for schools customers. We have the Carl Ideas portal, which is a little newer, hasn't been out quite as long. The LS Ideas portal has been online for a few years. And so I hope the customers have begun starting, to see a real benefit from having that portal. I know we, and especially like I in product, have huge benefits from using that portal. I'm in there weekly, if not more often, sometimes daily, reviewing the ideas, just making sure that I can try to remember as many of them as I can. As we talk about development, we on the back end of our software are able to take those ideas and relate them to development specs, sort of like map them through all of our side of the software so that we can get all of those ideas sort of organized so that we can use them when developing. I wanted to show some quick numbers on ideas that we've developed over the past few years and how many votes those ideas have. So this is sort of a view into released LS ideas over the past few years. As you can see, we do develop towards these ideas, and we've released or closed a bunch of the LS ideas from that portal. And I'm sure once the Carl Ideas portal is online a little bit longer, we'll be able to provide statistics on that just as much as we can for the LS ideas. All right, so let's talk more about other feedback channels, surveys. I know in Library.Solution and Library.Solution for schools, especially we in product do a lot of surveys. We survey our customers a lot. Sometimes I worry that we do some of it too much. But they're incredibly helpful for us. And these are typically workflow-based questions so we can understand the software needs and your workflows, and we would just need to make sure that we're going to meet your user needs. So the surveys are typically when we're in the research phase of the development process. Before we even get to any wireframing or development specs, we typically, will, if it's something we really need to gather information about, we'll send out surveys to understand, how your user experience should work. Another thing we do is roundtables. So both Library.Solution for schools and Carl.Solution customers are able to participate in roundtable discussions. Library.Solution customers, public libraries, your time is coming. We are planning on getting some of those up and running soon, so keep an eye out for that information. Currently, the formats of the roundtables that we have are in the cadence. They're a little different. They work a little different, but the value can really be the same from both of them. We have great conversations, and we get lots of customer input and lots of feedback in those conversations. In the schools roundtable, that's the one I participate in and have for a few years now. So that's the one I know the most about. I know that I've given my other product managers have given demos of the current development that we're doing. Sometimes I even demo wireframes before we get to the development phase, just to get feedback on, before we even begin development, are we thinking, down the right path? Are we going to provide you with the functionality you need? During some of these roundtables, we've taken polls and votes on features in a workflow. Which one of these would be your highest priority in this feature? Which things should we concentrate on first? We've done this a couple times where we have handed out sort of a test development server for user acceptance testing. I think we did this sometime, I think it was last year. In the middle of our development, in the middle of the release, it was somewhat close to the end, but we created a server for our customers and gave them some logins. And we had every, customer that was in that roundtable was able to log into the development and view the development and test the user experience before we even let the release out. So that was a really good feedback that we got there too. So, all of these things that we do within our roundtables really drive our development to help it be better and, really hopefully help get our software to where it needs to be. So sneak peeks. Our Carl customers have been invited to and been attending monthly sneak peeks of the new Carl Connect Discovery 4.0 development, where they can keep up to date with progress. Again, if you remember, I was talking about how that is, sort of not really iterative development currently because it's a replacement piece of software. But we're still doing those demos, those sneak peeks, so that the customer, we can still get that feedback. We don't want to, release this giant piece of software without having our customers really look in on our progress and give us updates and feedback on our progress. We do plan on getting a lot more of these going for Library.Solution and Library.Solution for schools when we have some bigger projects, just like what they're doing with Discovery 4.0. So again, keep an eye out for that, and I'll show you what channels you should keep an eye out for that later on at the end of the discussion here. Short-term focus groups are another tool of ours. So when we're in sort of the researching and ideating phase of a specific piece of functionality, product managers, some of us will reach out to a small group of customers that we know use that functionality or that feature or really desire or need that feature to support their workflows. And so we'll create what we call a small, like a focus group. We've done this with a few things lately. We've reached out for some things about bookings, ensuring that PII and school systems is really, being covered the way that it should, and lots of other things. But with these short-term focus groups, although we're working with just a few customers in the initial and the researching phase, once we get towards like wireframes and development, we will broaden that scope, and that's where we start to bring it like to more things like a roundtable discussion or a broader set of customers for feedback. And then conferences and conversations. So TLC staff is available to talk to anyone, any of our customers at any time. We do have our annual TLCU conference where we interact, directly with our customers who are in attendance. But we also have all of the other library conferences in a year, users groups, pickup meetings, and just any other regular conversations. At any time, any of our customers can call any of us at TLC about anything, including software features, development, whatever you need to talk about. Any of us are here to hear what you want to say. We're always open to conversations and suggestions about what you need out of our software. And I also want to say, not if you have specific questions for specific people or someone, if you're at, a big conference and you have a product question and there may not be a product manager at that conference, you can talk to whoever it is that is there. We're a pretty tight-knit group here at TLC. So, any one of us can get a hold of anybody else, and we very often are able to, communicate while others are at that conference and either get answers right away, or they'll get a hold of us and we'll reach back out to you pretty quickly. So what I'm trying to say is conferences and conversations are, incredibly important as well. So even if you're at a conference that has nothing to do with, whatever support software, can the software do this type of question, please still ask those questions. That stuff will get back to us. Okay, so let's talk about some specific examples of software and functionality where our users have been at the heart of really making sure that the user experience is what was needed for their borrowers and their staff. One of the first ones that comes to mind for me, especially because this one was one of mine to manage, is guardian engagement. So, our Texas schools were hit with some hard legislations a couple of years ago, and one customer contacted us, and she'll admit this in sort of a panic, because, of what pending legislations were out there. So we spent the entire summer that year meeting almost weekly to design and develop guardian engagement. Our solution became such a great piece of functionality, because it doesn't censor students and it doesn't remove titles from the library, that it's being used by schools in other states to help reduce book challenges and face other pending legislations, and some just to release to reduce the workload on librarians. Notices improvements. So one of our New York BOCES customers had suggestions for great improvements to overdue notices. We were able to partner with that BOCES to find their workflows and create a solution that is now not only used by them, but by other schools and public libraries as well. The solution allows libraries, each library location, to customize their overdues by borrower type and/or holdings code. You can also customize based on delivery timing, notice text, delivery recipients, delivery methods, and more. One of the examples, that our partner was using is that they, kind of want to teach their students to be more responsible in the beginning. So their first set of notices, overdue notices, only go to the student. And then after a couple, once the overdue becomes kind of a long overdue, then they start to get the guardians involved. And then, you can have one overdue notice set up so that the delivery sort of goes student only, and then we incorporate the guardians, and then, it goes further and further. But really great improvements there. Again, customer driven. Stack map integration. One of our customers purchased Stack Map software, so their borrowers could easily find library materials using a visual map directly inside, their library catalog. At the time, we did not integrate with Stack Map, so we fixed that. We partnered with that customer and with Stack Map to develop an elegant and beautiful solution for LS2 pack integration. This integration also motivated other TLC customers to purchase Stack Map, just for the seamless integration in LS2 pack. So that is, sort of a win-win for our customers. And then let's talk about some Carl.Solution features, the grouped title display. So we partnered with our customers to create the Carl Connect grouped this is one that's hard to say fast. Grouped title display, which turns Carl Connect Discovery into a Ferber pack. So we relied on input and feedback from customers, partnering with them, and how to get this implemented, both in the back end and in grouping the titles, and then also how we should display it in the pack, with the interface. With the upcoming release of Discovery 4.0, Lisa and Jessica have demoed, this functionality's reimplementation and its new look, receive feedback, and it can be tweaked and all of that before the release. And so we brought them in the first time, and we're bringing them back in when we do the reimplementation of Discovery. And password security updates for Carl.Solution. So 2025 Release 2 introduced some significant password management improvements in Carl.Solution, establishing a basis for ongoing and user password security enhancements for the software. So these updates enhance the security of Carl.Solution customer data through a streamlined process, through a streamlined password storage and login process. And it introduced logging, like logging of successful and not successful logins, which I think is really great. And the implementation of more robust password improvements. So all of this was in partnership with our customers to ensure we were providing them the security and the technical updates they needed, but keeping in line with the same great user experience that the staff and the borrowers were used to with the login process. Also in Carl Connect Discovery, users have a new way of pre-limiting their search directly from the search bar. So Discovery offers the optional search bar location filter, which allows you to customize which location becomes the default when using the keyword search bar. So this feature is configuration based. It's accessible for library administrators to sort of set that default, and it's optional. You can have a display in both Carl Discovery for the standard view of Carl Discovery and the title group title display in Carl Connect Discovery. So this was also developed alongside customers and for customers, and really matched their needs, and it really works great with those with that the user experience. So those are kind of big features. We've also partnered with something as small as a background color. So in our last release, LS2 staff and Library.Solution had some quick and dirty, as I called it, interface updates to sort of remove some older backgrounds, some older images. Kind of, it's the beginning of our journey to really update that interface. We received some immediate feedback that the screen was a little too bright or a little too white. So in this next release, we decided to darken up the background a little bit. And what I really liked here was that as soon as the developer did this, I took screenshots of how it looked, emailed those screenshots to the customers who, were getting complaints from their staff. They were able to send those screenshots on to their staff members, and we were able to get back feedback from those customers that said, yes, this looks better, this doesn't, this is great. So I was able to get that feedback before I was, I even moved it across our development board and considered it done, before I even gave it to documentation to say, here, this is done, let's put this in release notes. So that was even something as small as just changing a background color. We really reach out to our customers to get feedback and make sure that experience is what they need. One of our features in this upcoming release too is completely customer driven. In Library.Solution, LS2 pack will include extend search functionality. So this feature was suggested by a school customer because they partner with their local library to help provide resources for their students. So students will be able to do a search in their school catalog, click a link to their public library right up there at the top, like right there under the search bar. And that keyword search will extend to the public library. So they'll be able to see like, oh, the public library also has these titles, so I can get these there as well. Um, this also works with any database or website that supports keyword searching, in a simple search URL. And again, with this development, we partnered with the customer who was suggesting the functionality to understand their needs. Um, and then once we understood the needs and what was really being looked for, we demoed the wireframes during a roundtable discussion to make sure we were on the right track. And then once the functionality was demoed or once the functionality was developed, I then demoed the actual development. And I remember when, the next month roundtable came around and I was able to demo that we had already improved on the development that I had just demoed, some from some feedback that we got. And again, so now the feature is ready for release, due to suggestions and partnership with those customers. And it's going to be a huge piece of functionality, not just for this customer, but I bet it will be used across a lot of customers. And kids series curation. So last week, Nerd Rabbit News was released. I think it was last week, with a URL for a survey. So in the product news section, we there's a little blurb about the kids series curation, and there's a link to a survey. And Ada, one of our product managers, is asking libraries to submit series ideas for curation to display, because they would both display in LS2 Kids and Carl Connect Discovery Kids. Submissions started last week. I might have done a little sneak peek yesterday into the curation, and Ada's already working on curating some of those series that were requested last week. So again, feedback, immediate results, and that's really going to drive, the students to really get what they want out of their LS2 kids. And then here's a feature that I want to go just a little bit more in depth on. Because I really think that this one truly, talks about this shows, customer needs, but also, keeping with great user experience. So last year we developed a feature that allows each LS2 pack configuration to match the library's branding or the school's branding. So this means that each location or school in the system can have its own branded, customized LS2 pack. And again, it can match, whatever the school mascot is or whatever the library logo, it can match that branding. So with this development, we went through the normal customer demos and feedback loops with refinements, and then more demos and all of that, the whole feedback loop. And the one thing I really love about this feature is that we're providing a means for libraries to brand their packs, but also keeping in line with great user experience that, that LS2 pack provides. And let me explain that just a little bit further. So when we began our journey of developing LS2 pack towards WCAG compliance, we adopted the use of material design and a material UI component library. Material design prioritizes user-centered interaction, responsiveness across devices, and clearer visual hierarchies using colors and topography to enhance usability and brand expression. So what that really means is that it's a strict set of guidelines, but it really provides for incredible user-friendly interface and great user experience. So in this new LS2 pack material design interface, we stayed with the material design color theory of using primary and secondary colors. There are tertiary colors, but those are sort of, the grays and the other colors that don't really, stand out. The primary and secondary colors are really the ones that assist users in knowing things, knowing how to easily use the software. Like, what are the primary actions on this, screen or in this workflow? What are the active states? So, just using those two colors, it really helps not confuse a user with having too many colors on screen that may sort of be like overstimulation. So when we began developing the branding functionality, users are able to now select their primary and secondary colors for LS2 pack, and those colors are plugged into the right elements as it was developed to maintain the intended user experience. So you can also then upload your logo and your, library name or a sort of a welcome message to round out that branding experience. And then when selecting your primary and secondary colors, we also put in guardrails to make sure that the colors that are being selected meet contrast standards so that all borrowers will have meaningful user experiences, regardless of vision capabilities. So that development really it provided exactly what the customers need, what our customers needed in order to have a pack that matched their library or their school, but it also still creates a really good user experience, a really clear user experience for their borrowers and students. So all of these development examples show how much TLC really is the cliche. We're developing for, but more importantly, with our customers, side by side with our customers, and sometimes weekly or more often monthly with calls. We take feedback and suggestions to heart. We act as soon as we can in many cases. We may not always be able to develop right away, but we are listening, we are talking, and we are partnering with our customers to learn what makes for the best user experience for their staff and their borrowers. So how can you, find out more as a customer? How do you find these resources if you don't know they exist? And where can you learn, where can you learn to be part of the roundtables or sneak peek demos and all the things that are happening? So these are your resources and where you can find more info. Both Carl and LS customers have access to community sites. There is a Carl community site and an LS community site. And then school customers, you of course have access into the LS community site, and then you have your section as well. And these sites have tons of information, including everything I've talked, all the feedback channels I've talked about today. You can access, there's information there on how to access or how to join in or, all of those kinds of things. You can find the information about the roundtables, how to access roundtables and view the recordings in case you had to miss a roundtable. Sneak peeks recordings are in there for you, Carl users. And again, LS users, sneak peeks will be coming at some point for you. And then my favorite new thing is Nerd Rabbit News. I love Nerd Rabbit News. It's our newest publication from TLC. And if you want to know more about what's happening each month, where we'll be, what webinars and trainings are going to happen, user group info, product news, everything, Nerd Rabbit News has it. And this is what I love. So we're all busy, right? We all are doing many, many things. So if you don't have time to read all of the listserv emails or all the community blogs, this is the one thing that you will have time for. Make time for this one. It's just a quick one-page summary of all TLC things upcoming in a single month at a very quick glance. I love Nerd Rabbit News. Make sure you get Nerd Rabbit News. And then also NetSuite. So when all else fails, if you don't know who to ask your question to, if you don't know if it's a product question, if it's a support question, if it's a sales, if you have no idea who to ask, you can always log into NetSuite, put a ticket in, and our fabulous support team will direct your question where it needs to go. We will internally take care of that. We will get the right person in touch with you, and we will find your answers. So if all else fails and you don't know who to ask, NetSuite is always there for you. And then to round us back out, let's point out the ideas portals one more time. So if you have an idea for the software or you want to see what other ideas are out there that other customers have put in there and that you want to agree with them, log in, check them out, and use your votes. So the votes help us, like Ebony was talking about last week, and they help us prioritize. They help us know what's important. And also remember that when ideas are released, when they're finished, you get your vote back. So if you find that something gets released, log back in and use that vote that was just released. Because the idea portals really do help us out in product management a lot. And you can always just email me directly too if you have any questions. And speaking of questions,
There we go. I had to rearrange my screen there. Thanks, Kristin. That was so great. And so right now we'll turn it over to questions. I'll give folks a chance to submit those into the Q&A panel and we'll go through them. But while you all are typing those up, I have to say, I think Nerd Rabbit News is probably the epitome of the TLC putting the heart of customers into what we do. So in addition to all of the product features that Kristin mentioned and how we work with customers, our Nerd Rabbit story came from our customer base. And so our very first iteration came from our customers. Our CTO mentioned it in a conference and everyone loved it, gave us an icon. And then before the conference was over, we had our Nerd Rabbit. And so the newsletter itself came from people wanting more information, and immediately we were able to put that together. So a little love post for that, but I think it just goes to show that it's not just our products; it's TLC as a company. When our customers speak, we really take a moment and we listen to them. All right, so we do have a couple questions coming in, Kristin. So the first one that came up is, how can I become an early adopter and what are the risks of that?
okay. So to become an early adopter, you can contact us in any of those channels. You can either email me, you can put in a NetSuite ticket. If you do become an early adopter, we will run that off of a NetSuite ticket eventually. So again, just contact us in any way. Let us know that you are interested in early adoption, and we will reach out to you. And risks, I mean, this isn't beta. We're not putting out an untested release. You are not doing early adoption to be our testers for the software. It is a fully tested, it does go through all of our QA steps. It does go through all of the regression testing. Our support department looks at it. This is what we would, put out there as our full release, ideally. But we do like to have our customers, again, just sort of give us feedback before we go into a full release. That doesn't mean that it's going to be completely free of issues. There are sometimes issues that are found from, everybody uses the library software differently. Everybody has different workflows, and sometimes, something unintended can happen. So there aren't a ton of risks. It is fully tested software.
Great. Thanks for that reassurance there. And the next question, I think, is a follow-up to that. And you sort of answered it, is does adopter feedback influence the release? Which, yes, it can.
Yes, it absolutely can. If you find something that is a showstopper, something that isn't working, or something that isn't working as intended, or if you give us feedback that really needs to be fixed, we absolutely peel back the release, put some quick fixes in our development. It goes through all the same testing processes again before we put it, then as an early adopter, if we wrap another release, we will go through all that regression, all that testing again, all that stuff, wrap it up again, and then we'll put it back, we'll put the newer version on your server so that you can test the fix for us again before we go into a full release.
All right, just one more question I see so far. And this one is about, so you had talked about all these very specific library examples. So we worked with this library to do this library to do this. So the question is, are library specific developments available to everyone?
Absolutely. I would say absolutely they are available to everyone. So everyone has ideas. If you look through the ideas portal, there are, I think the last time I looked, almost 1,000 ideas so far on the library.solution ILS ideas portal. I don't look through the Carl ideas that much, but I do know that there were last time somewhere near 60, 70, something like that, which is great since it hasn't been out very, very long. Um, but yes, reach out to us. Let us know what you're looking for. We do have to make sure that, it is something that would help, you know, more custom, we do develop just for single customers, but we also want to make sure that the thing we're developing would benefit all of our customers. We do need to fit that into roadmaps and into priorities and all of those things, but absolutely, please let us know what you're looking for in the software, and we are willing to talk and consider. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the follow up to that also is that depending on what the feature is, sometimes we make a setting to turn it off.
Mhm.
Just because everyone gets access to it doesn't mean everybody wants that particular feature. So we do think
Yeah,
about that as well when that comes in.
absolutely. Yeah.
And we did just get another question that it came in. Is Stack Map an extra cost for that
Uh,
integration?
yes, not for our integration. So you purchase StackMap with StackMap, and then our integration is free.
All right, I don't see any other questions so far. So, Kristen, if you don't mind going to the next slide, we'll talk about our next webinar and also if you missed our last webinar. So, again, this was all about how we use customer feedback, but if you're also interested in how that feedback gets prioritized for the roadmap, that recording is available already. That's at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. Scroll down to the archive and you'll find that one. And next month, we are going to be inviting John Kraska from Every Library to give a presentation on how school libraries can market themselves using these last couple of weeks of the year to really get some good benefit. So be sure to come back for that one as well. And Kristin, thank you so much for your time today and during National Library Week, where we can show some love to all of our librarians who are on the call with us. Do you have any final words to share?
I just want to thank all of you for, being our customers, being our development partners, helping us. I consider a whole lot of our customers friends, and just thank you to each of you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll see you all next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.